You were gonna die?
Sharon Osbourne, the secret to the family's smashing success, facing a life-threatening illness with TV cameras in the house.
If you had to do it all over again,
I would not have done it.
How is Sharon's health now? Will the show go on? It's a bleep a minute, and even Barbara gets into the act.
I told Camilla she had nice
you told Camilla she had nice you didn't.
And for the first time, meet Amy, the mystery daughter who refused to be part of the Osbourne show.
Were you ever embarrassed by your family?
Of course.
Barbara Walters visits the family that broke the mold and transfixed America.
Love you all.
From Times Square in New York, Barbara Walters.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of 2020. Well, they've been called one of the most powerful couples in Hollywood. An aging rock star, famous in part for biting the head off a live bat, and his wife, who turned his faltering career and their family into a smashing multi-million-dollar success story. Tonight, the Osbournes, Ozzy, Sharon, and their children, including for the first time, Amy, the daughter who has refused to be part of the television series. She'll speak out. You will also hear how Sharon Osbourne is doing since she was diagnosed with colon cancer and how it has affected the rest of the family. I met with the Osbournes at the Beverly Hills home that has now become familiar territory to their television fans. And if you haven't seen the Osbournes before, hold on.
What the do you want me to do?
Get out of your mind.
Shut the up! Jack, go yourself.
It was the easiest role of their lives. In fact, all they had to do was be themselves.
What kind of a do you think I am?
Ozzy, the legendary rocker.
Or I'm a f***ing rocket scientist.
Sharon, his wife and savvy business manager.
It's your f***ing daughter.
And their eccentric kids, Jack and Kelly, all bleeping expletives into millions of American homes.
Oh, you're f***ing screwed.
Crazy. Hey, but that's how it goes.
Last spring, the Osbournes became MTV's all-time highest-rated show.
Not too late.
Ozzy, known to his heavy metal fans as the Prince of Darkness, was suddenly America's favorite dad. Everyone, it seems, was talking about the Osbournes.
What a fantastic audience we had tonight. Washington power brokers, celebrities, Ozzy Osbourne. The thing about Ozzy is he's made a lot of big hit recordings. Facing Hell, Black Skies, and Bloodbath in Paradise. Ozzy, Mom loves your stuff.
And that's not all. In June, Ozzy performed before Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles at her Golden Jubilee. His star was placed on Hollywood Boulevard.
The Osbournes.
And at the Emmys, their show not only won for Best Reality Series, they stole the evening and the biggest laughs when they appeared with Conan O'Brien in the open of the NBC broadcast.
What the hell happened?
What?
You're supposed to wake me up. I'm hosting the Emmys.
I didn't know, man.
I told you. Wake me up at 9 o'clock a.m.
Hey, man, I'm not your creep. What the do you think
You don't talk to me like that.
You're in my house, head.
With millions rolling in from a new TV contract and merchandising deals, the Osbournes were soaring. But things were going too well, Ozzy says. And one day he turned to Sharon and said it couldn't last, that something bad was going to happen. And it did. Last summer, Sharon, who just turned 50, was diagnosed with colon cancer. We're in the backyard. Since so much has been written and said about Ozzy, we felt this was the time to get to know the power and guiding spirit behind the Osbournes. Sharon, this has been the best of years and in some way the worst of years. Overnight sensations, megastars, even richer than before, Emmys, illness.
It's been like a roller coaster ride because our show started in March. And look where we are now. It's like I feel I've lived a lifetime in less than a year. My kids aren't just a normal 16, 17-year-old. They have lawyers and business managers.
Do you have any regrets?
I think if we were to do it over again, we wouldn't have done the show.
You're kidding.
No.
If you had to do it all over again, you would not have done this show with everything it's given to you?
Yeah, I would not have done it.
Why not?
The cameras are here all the time, so we have no privacy. You know, when you're sick, you want to be on your own.
Yeah.
And it's had a tremendous effect on Ozzy, and Ozzy's been hitting the bottle again, and I can't throw up on my own, and Ozzy can't get drunk on his own.
How did you find out that you had colon cancer?
I went to have a medical, and my blood test came back that I was terribly anemic. And so they went and did further tests, and then they found it.
Were you afraid when you got the diagnosis that you were going to die?
You're frightened. I mean, the first thing was fear. My stomach, like, was in knots. I couldn't breathe. I was hysterical. And the first thing you think of is, oh my God, my kids, this can't be happening to me. You know, I'm not ready. It's not my time. So for me to go through this pain and to lose a bit of hair, it's nothing in the big picture. It's nothing.
By the way, is this your real hair?
It is, but it's falling out very quickly. Even my eyelashes, I'm like, oh, damn.
Sharon, what's the prognosis?
It's like 9 months now of chemo that I've got to go through.
You've been in and out of the hospital the last few months.
Yeah.
What happened?
My first month of chemo, I didn't do well with, and nobody realized that it was too much for me, and my red blood cell count was flawed, and I was dehydrated.
How are you feeling now?
Today I feel great. It's usually the second and third day after treatment that you begin to feel weak and sick.
What do you do when you're depressed?
Go to bed and sleep. I hide.
How are the children?
They're very brave and supportive.
How is Ozzy?
He's a complete wreck.
Frightened.
Frightened, terrified. Terrified.
You're the anchor of this family.
Mums always are.
Describe Mum.
I don't think I've ever met anyone like my mother. She doesn't care about anything but her family and making sure that we're all right.
She's probably, you know, one of the strongest people I've ever met.
Their children who appear in the show are Jack, 16, Kelly, 18, and the newest member, 18-year-old Robert Mercato, whom the Osbournes took in after his mother died of colon cancer. If anything happened to your mother, what would happen to this family?
It would fall apart. We couldn't go on without her. Out of everyone in my whole life, if I ever lost my mother, I think I'd kill myself. I couldn't live without her.
Kelly.
I couldn't live without her.
Mum's the glue in the model, and without that, it's just, there'd be, you know, just sticks everywhere, and they'd be lost.
God, you're making me want to cry.
I'm not going to make you want to cry because she's going to be fine. She's going to be fine. How's Dad taking it?
Seriously, like...
She, like, cries when she goes to get chemo.
No, he can't go to the chemo with her because he's in there, like, he fainted the first time she went in there.
Ozzy, are you scared about Sharon's illness?
I'm not scared. I'm absolutely horrified.
I don't even know how to ask this, but... Well, you just tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel about her.
Well, it's the worst thing that can ever happen.
It's going to be okay. 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 It is, it is, it is, it is. Look how good she looks and she's feeling better. She's
Come on,
feeling
you
better.
old tart.
Come on, let's talk about... Come on, I'm going to change the subject. I want to know what you said to the Queen of England.
I told Camilla she had nice
You told Camilla she had nice You didn't.
I did.
Tell me what you said.
I felt them too.
You didn't.
I did.
You were introduced to Prince Charles and Camilla and you felt her bosom?
Yes. because she had a big cleavage and they were pushed way, way up. And I was just fascinated by her cleavage, and I told her that she had nice tits, and she said, oh, thank you.
Did she really?
Yes.
What did Prince Charles say?
She was playing with his
No, I know. I was pinching his bum.
Who pissed on my f***ing carpet?
In this home, nothing is sacred, and outrageous behavior is the norm. But the Osbournes, who have been described as a dysfunctional family, appear to be an unusually close-knit clan. Ozzy, what do you most want people to know about you and your wife and your family?
They were caring people. They would love each other. My wife and family are my first love affair. My second love affair is my audience.
But the first love affair is Sharon and your kids.
Without this lady here, I ain't got a chance in hell. So she's got to make it.
When 2020 returns,
Is it true that your father put a hitman after you?
Yeah, he's a tough cookie.
next.
A year-old covered in diamonds and driving a Rolls Royce. Whatever I wanted, he would give me.
In 1970, Sharon was answering phones for her father when she met Ozzy Osbourne, the lead singer of the heavy metal rock group Black Sabbath. What did you look like in those days?
Big.
Fat?
Fat. Too much jewelry, too much hair, too much everything.
But he liked you.
He did.
Sharon had never had a boyfriend. No man, she says, had shown any interest in her before Ozzy. But at the time they met, he was married with 2 children. It wasn't until 10 years later that a romance began, when Sharon found Ozzy bottomed out from drugs and booze in a Beverly Hills hotel. By 1979, Ozzy's career was in decline. He had been kicked out of Black Sabbath because of drugs, but you saw something in him that others didn't see.
His great big heart and his talent.
Sharon not only began to manage Ozzy's career, she also married him, and eventually they broke away from her father's company. And your father was what?
Furious.
And did what?
Excommunicated. I mean, I left with 2 suitcases. No jewelry, no money, no cars, no nothing.
Is it true that your father put a hitman after you?
Yeah, he did.
Your father wanted to kill you because you took Ozzy away?
My father was like, if you mess with him, gone. You're dead.
With Sharon as his manager, Ozzy's career took off again.
I knew that there was a whole underground army of people all over the world that loved him.
Mama, I'm coming.
His first 2 solo albums went multi-platinum. His concerts sold out, but his success was a surprise to the record company that initially was reluctant to sign him, especially after an incident that became the stuff of rock and roll legend. Supposedly you had a meeting with record executives and Ozzy bit off the head of a dove.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say to him, well, go in and you'll bite off the head of a dove?
No, he was meant to take them out of his pockets as a show of peace because the record company really didn't want Ozzy, and we knew it. And because of the vibe in the room, just made Ozzy do that.
Sharon, didn't you think he was nuts?
No.
To you, that was just fine?
Yeah.
Sharon, you are not as normal as I think you are when I talk to you. But that incident paled compared to what happened later in an act that forever sealed Ozzy's wild image and still stands as one of rock's most bizarre moments. Did you tell Ozzy to bite the head off the bat on stage?
No. After the dove incident, kids thought that it was cool to bring in all these animals for Ozzy, so they would bring in chickens. I mean, we've had great big frogs on stage this big, everything they would throw up at him, and he thought it was a toy bat.
So he bit the head off the bat?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
That's exactly what I said, and I'm like, you're not kissing me, you're going for rabies
Did you
shots.
really?
I was like, there is no way. So he had to go for a course of rabies shots.
Like many rock stars, Ozzy had a reputation for very heavy drinking and drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Did you drink and do drugs then too?
When I first started to go out with Ozzy, 79, 80, I would drink to keep up with Ozzy. My body just can't handle it. So I was a terrible drunk. And we used to end up having the worst fights. And it got to the point where it was so bad that I had to say, I just have to stop, because we're going to end up in the gutter.
You stopped the drinking?
Yeah.
And the drugs?
Mm-hmm.
Ozzy couldn't?
Couldn't, no.
Tried?
It was, Ozzy's been trying for so long, Barbara. He's just got this demon inside of him. He just can't get rid of these little people that live in his head.
What do they say, these people?
He tells me, they say, you know, he's no good, he's a failure, he's useless, he's this, he's that, have a drink, have a this, have a that. And he just, every day he wakes up and he tries to fight, and some days he wins and some days he doesn't.
When 2020 returns,
There is that one much publicized time when Ozzy tried to kill you.
He came down with just his underpants on and he said, "You have to die."
next.
If there's one thing that's certain about the Osbournes, it's that husband and wife love each other very much. But there was a time when there was violence and abuse in their relationship. So why on earth has Sharon stayed with Ozzy through thick and an awful lot of thin? There is that one much publicized time when Ozzy tried to kill you.
Yeah.
Had such a fight with you that he tried to strangle you.
It had been coming for a while. He'd been on a roll. I mean, he was like hiding vodka bottles in the oven because he knew I didn't cook and I would never look in there. I was downstairs reading. He came down with just his underpants on and he's like, "We've come to a decision." And I'm like, "We've?" And he said, "You have to die."
Sharon.
And then he just dived on me and got me down on the floor and was just strangling me. But he was gone. There was blinkers on his eyes. He had gone. It wasn't Ozzy.
How did you not die?
We had panic buttons in every room. And as he had me down on the floor, the panic button fell beside me, and I hit the panic button.
You hit the panic button and the police came and had him arrested.
They kept him in jail for about a week, and then he agreed to go into rehab, and I dropped the charges. And so he went into rehab for 6 months.
What was it like for your children?
Thank God they were very young.
She's Daddy.
It was hard getting up in the morning and driving them to school in the carpool, and, you know, all the other mothers and teachers looking at you, and your husband's on the front page of the paper being arrested for attempted murder, and I'm like, "Good morning."
You appear to be, I mean, it's part of the charm of the Osbournes, that you are sane, wise. How did you stay with a man who is an addict, who is violent?
I was stubborn, and I kept thinking, I can change him, I can change him, I can make it better.
Did you make it better?
No. I gave it a good try, though. Yes, I mean, our life is better.
Again?
Not as bad, because he's terrified, because he knows the consequences.
What kind of drugs is he on?
Right now, Ozzy's on antidepressants and pills for his shakes, because he suffers from great anxiety. So he's on something for that too.
Is Ozzy on coke or grass or?
No, only prescription drugs. In the 70s and 80s, it was hard drugs, and then we moved on to prescription.
So there are days when he drinks, there are days when he does drugs, and there are days when he's able to lick it. And you don't know which days are going to be which.
No.
You live with that.
Yeah.
While Ozzy has battled his addictions, you were battling weight. And finally, you did something about it.
I did.
What did you weigh, first of all?
225 pounds. My mum was big, my dad's big, and I knew that I was going to end up a real heifer. And in my life, I'd seen the way people react to fat people. Somebody once said that it's more accepted to be a drug addict than it is to be fat. And it's true. Amy?
In 1999, Sharon elected to have a new procedure called lap band surgery that placed a band around her stomach, reducing the amount of food she can take in.
This has got to be red,
But whether dealing with her weight or colon cancer, Sharon is unstoppable when it comes to running the family business.
How much do women pay for knickers?
You know, as a businesswoman, you are considered very good and very tough. And you've done some pretty strong things.
Yeah. So next week is going to be a pretty busy week.
Sharon has been tougher than most men in a business not known for its gentility.
The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was...
At a production meeting with MTV executives, it is Sharon who calls the shots. Nothing goes on the air without her approval. She recently negotiated a multi-million-dollar deal for a second season of The Osbournes, along with lucrative merchandising contracts, selling everything from expletive-laden T-shirts to bobbing Osbourne dolls. 7 years ago, she organized Ozfest, an annual celebration of heavy metal music headlined by her husband. It has become one of the highest grossing concert events in the country. How'd you get those blokes to listen to you, all of those band members, those tough guys?
By having a foul mouth and not taking their abuse and being a rock. I mean, you have to be made of iron.
Is it true that you once sent someone you didn't like a box full of feces?
Yeah. I've done it a few times. In a Tiffany box.
Oh, you're nothing if not elegant. Do you have class?
I'm just a ballsy broad, but I was born with confidence.
What about Oz? Does he have class?
He has dignity. Class doesn't really work when you are explaining Ozzy. He's complex. He doesn't know how wealthy he is. He doesn't know how famous he is. He doesn't really understand the magnitude of what his name means.
Can you talk to him?
I try and say to him, go out there and stand up straight and you're a king. You're a king. Those kids love you. And it's like, I'm not. And he's like, I'm no good and I can't sing and I'm just a joke and I'm this and I'm that, and he just hates himself.
As strange and complex as Ozzy is, the most mysterious member of the Osbourne family is the one whom few people have seen because she chose not to be a part of the MTV show, their oldest daughter, 19-year-old Amy. How did you feel when Amy said that she did not want to be a part of the show?
I accepted it. I would never force them into doing anything. How could you force somebody into doing something like opening up your life? And Kelly and I were talking about, we wished we hadn't done this in the beginning and we wished that we could take it back. And I said, Amy's not so stupid.
That's for sure. When we come back, the Osbourne everyone wonders about. For the first time, daughter Amy speaks out.
When 2020 continues,
What do you most want people to know about you?
That I'm not some weirdo, depressed daughter that's afraid of the world that locks herself in her room all day.
next. Continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
There may be no secrets in the Osbourne family, but there is a mystery, and her name is Amy, the daughter who moved out of the house rather than take part in the Osbourne show. But tonight, Amy returns home to talk for the first time publicly about her feelings and her family. There's more to the Osbournes than you see on TV. Amy, you've never done an interview before, and I know you want to keep your privacy. On the other hand, what do you most want people to know about you?
That I'm not some weirdo, depressed daughter that's afraid of the world that locks herself in her room all day. You know, I just didn't choose to do the show. That's the only thing that I think that's different about me and my family.
Why would you not want to participate with the rest of the family?
It's kind of like, okay, I want to be a singer.
Perfect.
And I felt if I would have stayed with the Osbournes and done the whole Osbourne thing, I felt as though maybe I would have been typecasted right away before I had a chance to experience other things.
Was Mum mad when you decided not to participate?
She was hurt, and we definitely had our rough times for a couple of months with our disagreements. But it really was nothing to do with me not loving them and not, you know, wanting the world to know that I am a part of this family.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I really don't, because I'm more reserved and my private life to me is very important. So it didn't feel right, because my whole life everything's been so exposed. So I feel as though now I'm at an age and a time in my life where I can make that choice.
You're not going to join the Osbournes on camera this year or next year or any time that you can see?
No.
You want to sing. And if you were doing this, you probably would have had a contract now the way your sister Kelly does.
Right.
Yeah, so does it bother you that she's got one? And
no, I mean...
Truth, does it?
At first I was kind of shocked.
Both here and in Europe, baby sister Kelly has been getting considerable airplay with her first single.
I think for me to be upset would be kind of selfish, because she has a life, she has a talent, and why shouldn't she? Just because I'm taking my time with it.
Your mom says that you're the normal member of the family. You are so different from the rest of the family.
These are the people that created me, so I'm definitely like them in a lot of ways.
You said you beat the family record. Stick.
Fight to fight. You know, man, it's a record.
Now just gonna have another f***ing drink and start singing again.
Do you use four-letter words every other
Of course.
sentence?
You know,
I'm just not seeing it now.
Do I choose to use it in every other sentence? No. I never did. We never did when we were little. It was only, I'd say the last year my parents have kind of been letting it fly, because, I mean, they were very strict with that when we were younger, and we were raised in England, and English schools, you say like hell and you're out of there.
That mother.
So this whole business of the F this and F that, this is just the last couple of years?
My family's lifestyle and attitude have changed so much in the last 2 years, and that's, I think, what made me uncomfortable.
Don't let it walk
I'm
on.
gonna book her a breath test because her breath smells like all the time.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Were you ever embarrassed by your family?
Of course. I mean, do I like that my father publicly announces that he still has a drinking problem? No. Do I like that my brother and sister talk about drinking and smoking weed? No.
Did kids when you were in school say, did your father really bite the head off a bat?
Oh, that was the nicest question I got asked. I mean, I got, did your father spread a bucket around the audience and they all spat in it, and did he drink it? I mean, just absurd things.
You dropped out of school?
Yes. I was suffering from major depression at the time and also dyslexia. So it got to a point where it became so overwhelming for me and so upsetting to me that I just woke up one day and said, I can't do this anymore.
What do you think of your father?
I think that he is incredibly unique. I think he's talented. I think he's misunderstood.
How?
My dad just wants everyone to be happy and, you know, to be doing what they love, and I think sometimes he forgets that that's what he should want for himself as well. And also because of the damage that obviously has affected him.
From drugs?
From drugs and alcohol and stress, and the way he was raised has definitely taken his toll on him.
You must wish he could stop, don't you?
Sometimes I do, and then sometimes I think, if this is what makes him happy, and if this is what he needs, then fine. But seeing him struggle to stay sober is more painful than actually sometimes watching him drink.
Tell me about Mom's illness and how it's affected you.
It's been strange because I was the first person that actually told her, something is wrong with you, you're sick, go to a doctor.
What made you think so?
I could feel it. I could smell it on her. I don't know what it was. It's the most unusual thing that's ever happened to me. And we fought for 2 years for her to actually go and get a checkup and find out what the problem was. And I think when she found out, she said to me, "Thank you." And that, to me, was worth every argument we had.
This must be very hard for you now.
It is.
Sharon!
Sharon, Ozzy!
But I think that she forgot for a little while just what was important to her. And she was too busy pleasing the press and doing this and doing that. She wasn't focusing on herself.
Are you scared?
Of course, I'm scared, but at the same time, too, I know she's going to beat this.
What if something did happen to Mom? What would it mean to the family?
The thing that would probably most concern me would be my dad.
Oh, we've been hiding from you all day.
Are you really? Where's the babies?
My dad has become so dependent on her, and my mum has been his backbone for so many years that I don't think he even wants to know what life is like without her. And I understand that, and I don't think he would last more than a year without her.
Really?
Yes. No doubt in my mind.
When 2020 continues,
It's changed us all so much. It's changed us all.
And not for the better.
next.
Ozzy Osbourne is an icon in the world of heavy metal music, but it wasn't until MTV's groundbreaking show that Ozzy and his family were embraced by mainstream America. Their show returns later this month, part of a new 2-season deal that Sharon Osbourne struck with MTV. But Sharon has some jaw-dropping news never shared before now, not even with MTV executives. Listen. A year ago, who would have thought that millions would be talking about this zany family? Certainly not their kids. Did you both want to do this show?
Every little kid's dream is to be on MTV. And we were just kind of like, oh wow, this is going to be cool.
What's the bad part about doing this show?
You have no anonymity.
It's always like having a constant little voice in your head, like telling you not to do something because there's like a camera right there. I know, I can't say I have to behave myself.
Mr. Osbourne!
All 3 Osbourne children are pursuing entertainment careers.
I got my own label going, so... Do you?
Yeah. Jack wants to be a record executive. Amy and Kelly want to be singers. On the day we visited Sharon's management office, she was screening Kelly's new music video. With their wealth, education, it seems, has never been a priority for the Osbournes. Mom, Dad, and all 3 children dropped out of school. You don't like school?
I don't want to sit there and have a teacher who doesn't know me and is biased because they're jealous that I have a different life from them, telling me what to do and throwing me out of the class every time I make a mistake. It's not fun for me.
When did you leave?
I left 2 years ago.
And Jack?
A year ago.
Everybody in your family drops out of school.
Yeah.
You don't mind?
My kids aren't scientists. What are you going to do? Force them because it's the thing to do? It's politically correct, and I have to keep up with the neighbors because their kids are all at big colleges.
Well, you might want them to learn something.
They can all read and write perfectly, and they're in the school of life.
What do you say to the people who say their language, the way they talk back to their parents?
Did anybody feed the dogs?
No!
That's really f***ed up.
It's lowering the standard of acceptable behavior.
I would just really appreciate some credit.
This is their home, and they don't talk that way to you. They don't talk that way to people that they meet.
Why let them talk that way to you?
Because it doesn't bother me. I talk that way to them. I mean, I'll say, you little get your ass upstairs. It's become a terrible habit because of the way that I work. I choose to use those words when I negotiate, when I deal with people, and I've brought it home, unfortunately. But they know when to use it and when not to use it, and that's the difference.
Do you think they're typical of teenagers?
Yeah, I do. My kids are mouthy, sure, and they're ballsy, but they're not off the rails. Yeah, Jack smokes pot and, drinks his beer and has a giggle, but it's no more than any other 16-year-old is doing.
Oz spends almost every program begging his kids not to drink and do drugs.
I will not have dope smoked in my house or drugs of any time. Ain't gonna lead to anywhere but bad places. Look at me.
Do you do drugs?
I dabble in, you know, I'm not like a crazy, you know, wild kid, you know, going out and doing like cocaine or anything.
I have friends that have been doing coke since they were 13 years old. I've never touched it. Kids get started in that stuff because they're looking for a way out of something, and
boredom.
We don't need to escape anything.
It's interesting. Most teenagers are in the stage where they rebel against their parents. You kids never have to rebel.
It's like, what are we going to do? It's like, by rebelling, I'd probably turn into a nun.
My teeth, my car, my vagina, my business.
Amy says the family is much more laid back when the cameras stop rolling. Are you deliberately more outrageous because the cameras are on?
No, because I don't think that we are outrageous. I just think that we're truthful. We're not actors.
He's stoned. Is he singing?
Why would we have Ozzy so raw, so open, that people can see when Ozzy's stoned, people can see when he's straight? You know, he comes in his underwear and his guts hanging out. I mean, a lot of rock stars would never, ever allow that.
And then at the end of our interview, Sharon stunned everyone, including Ozzy and the kids, when she said that despite the new 2-year contract, the show's future was anything but certain. How long do you think the Osbournes can last?
Not long.
Because of your illness?
Because now our lives have changed so dramatically, and now with me getting sick and the impact it's had on my family, and if we hadn't been doing this show, I think it would have been easier on us all.
Do you think this might be the last year for the Osbournes?
This is definitely the last year.
It is, Sharon?
We can't do it anymore. Because it's a moment in time where we were innocent. We were innocent to it all. We went in feet first. And you can't recreate that.
This is the last year.
Yeah. It's not even a year. It's probably another 10 shows and I'm out.
And with it all, with the fame, with the money, with everything, if you had to do it all over again,
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it?
No. It's changed us all so much. It's changed us all.
And not for the better.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
But on Monday, after our story was released, Sharon seems to have had a change of heart, announcing that she will commit to 2 more seasons. Yes and no, yes and no. As outrageous as the Osbournes are, or maybe because they are outrageous, I love spending time with them, and I wish them everything good. We'll be right back with more.